Hi, I'm Andi Sidwell. I'm at SSDP UK Conference 2009. We have Professor David Nutt here, the erstwhile head of the Advisory Council for the Misuse of Drugs. I would just like to ask you, like we all know what's been going on with the ACMD recently and the fact that people resigned. Do you know what people who are currently on the committee are thinking of doing, or how that committee is going to proceed now?
No, I think it's very
people
difficult.
Have resigned?
I know a lot of people, so 5 have resigned, and when there's me gone, so they've lost the core of the scientific backbone of the council, but there's quite a few people still on it. Many of them are there because they're in statutory positions like the police or magistrates, etc. The one, I think some of them are very unhappy, but they've told me they can't resign.
Okay.
But they've written to me explain how unhappy they are. I think some of the other scientists and doctors on the council are also very, very worried about whether it can work. I think they're staying on, hoping that the Home Secretary will see sense and will actually agree to the new code of practice, which will mean he couldn't sack my successor.
Okay.
But if that doesn't happen, if you won't agree to that, then I think they may just give up.
So, do you, I mean, it's a statutory requirement to have that council, isn't it? So, I mean, I guess that's the government in violation of its own laws. I don't know quite how that...
That's right. So what would happen? Well, they will obviously try to find people to replace me and the others who've left, but I don't know how it will work. I mean, they're in a very difficult position, and it may be that they can't solve it before the next election, and then who knows? Okay. Maybe the Tories will decide that they want to get rid of it and change the law and have it decided by the Tory backbenchers. I don't know.
That'd be nice. I'm just wondering, you mentioned just the project of like synthetic alcohol and an alcohol which doesn't harm people. How far along are you with that?
Well, we've got some good ideas. We've shown sort of proof of concept. I've demonstrated on the Horizon programme that you can reduce an intoxication and you can reverse it. So the kind of concept is there. It's a question of finding drugs to do what alcohol does in a similar sort of time course of alcohol that still have antidotes. So I've got some funding. I'm going to start working on those, looking for newer compounds which aren't currently controlled by the Misuse of Drugs. Because obviously you couldn't sell anything that was under the Act.
No.
And I'm hoping, I think in a year or so we might have some test experiments going on. You know, we can give you a chance to see whether it's you prefer it to alcohol or not.
That'd be really interesting, like, because it's a futuristic idea. Because like, in Star Trek they have this thing called synthahol.
Now I only just heard about this the other day. I wasn't a Star Trek.
No, but I did remind me of this. Synthahol in Star Trek is drink with none of the side effects, bad side effects of alcohol, but with a mild intoxication. And apparently it's like.
So I'm obviously so there's nothing new. The only difference is I know how to make it, whereas I think
back in the 90s they weren't so sure. I don't think.
It's just a concept.
Yeah.
But it just shows, though, isn't it, how people. It's not a crazy concept.
No,
it's a sensible concept. The reason we haven't got it is because companies are not pursuing that line of research because the government hasn't told them that they'll allow them to sell it. And so you could waste millions of pounds developing something, and the government could just ban it the next day.
Okay, and we're assuming you're not going to get back onto the ACMD unless Gordon Van responds to that lovely petition online. But assuming you have plans for a new independent council.
Yeah, I think it's critical that until this whole mess is sorted out, we have to have some independent group that people can turn to, the media can turn to, the public can turn to. Yeah. So to ask for the truth about drugs. Because currently now the ACMD is wounded, people won't know whether the scientists that are left are telling the truth or whether they're just saying what the Home Secretary asked them to say.
So how have you got any ideas on how that council is going to work?
Yes, it's going to be scientists. Yeah. So we're going to just focus on the science, so we won't have any of the judges and the police, etc. So we just get scientists together. 3 groups: chemists who know about the chemistry of the drugs and the toxicology of the drugs, pharmacologists and clinical pharmacologists who know about what the drugs do in humans and other animals, and then statisticians and epidemiologists to look at the harms of the drugs, to collate the data and to do the best statistical analysis of harms.
Okay. So, is this a short-term thing you're looking at setting up?
Well, I'm looking for 3 years funding. I think I may have 3 years funding. And then hopefully once it's rolling for 3 years, other charities will come in. Or maybe even the government. Maybe the government would say, well, let's have this privatised, independent ACMD, because take all the pressure off them, because people would trust what it came out with. Yeah, and the government could easily turn it down with less political... Well, that's right. They could say, here, you make the you tell us about the drug harms and we'll decide what the penalties are. So it could actually be a sensible balance. As it should be like that. It should, drug science decisions should be independent of government. Yeah, okay. And sort of finally, you've been at the conference today, what do you think SSDP can be working on in particular, to put forward the case of evidence-based drug policy?
Do you have
Well, I
anything
think it's
to add?
great that you've got a group of people interested in this. I think you should certainly do some work around me and about the problems with me, and you should be writing to the Home Secretary and your MPs, pushing the, making sure they understand how upset you are about the fact that this is not a scientific decision. This is a kind of political or some other kind of petulant decision. I think you should be. The big message is education. Educate other students about harms.
Yeah.
Try to get people to understand that alcohol is a drug. And
yeah, that's something we try to do an awful lot on stalls and things. It's always very much legal and illegal drugs. We always make a careful emphasis on that kind of thing. I think that's just about all then. Thanks very much.
You're welcome.